Today on the Happy Families podcast, you've got me, Kylie Coulson, Mrs. Happy Families. I'm flying solo. The surf's pumping and Justin's left me at the desk. I'm not sure how this is going to go. What did your parents teach you about your first period? Was it even discussed or was it taboo? Were you nervous, anxious? Did you dread it coming? Did you feel embarrassed and want to hide it from everyone? Today on the podcast, a conversation about periods and the importance of empowering our girls with knowledge about their bodies and how they work. Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast where you get real parenting solutions every day. We're breaking the mold. Justin's gone surfing. He's left me in charge. I'm not sure how this is going to go, but we're going to give it our very best shot. Today we're speaking with Kate Andrews. She's the visionary founder of Wild Creative, offering holistic education and rites of passage programs. Nature is her classroom and she runs a youth wellbeing homeschool program outdoors all year round. She also facilitates rites of passage retreats and camps aimed at preteens and teens so they receive more meaningful puberty and period education. She feels all girls deserve to know their bodies are unique, ever-changing and sacred, and there is a great power within the transformation that occurs with change. She believes all boys should feel safe enough to show the vulnerability that's required for healthy self-expression without being criticised for it. Kate, you're a really big believer in period education. Why? How did that come about?
Yeah, I really believe that menstrual health is connected to mental health and overall health outcomes. And, how a person is made to feel about their body and period is, the messages they receive during adolescence hugely impacts how they feel about those things. And if a girl is made to feel ashamed of her period and changing body, that's going to impact the way that she treats her body, potentially for her whole life. So I think period education is deeply important because a period is just a natural function of the female body, right?
Yeah.
And girls deserve to actually feel comfortable with that instead of afraid or nervous or scared or pretending like it's not there. So that's why I think period education is hugely important. We also live in a culture that still really favours productivity, which I think comes at great cost to girls and women because we're not designed to thrive in that kind of environment. And if a girl, the hormones that make us create, release an egg and then menstruate are actually, they affect our mood, our energy, our focus. And if a girl is made to feel there's something wrong with her because she's feeling really flat or in pain with PMS and cramps or just cannot focus, that's going to affect her mental health and her health outcomes and the way she treats herself in the future.
I'm listening to what you're sharing and I'm wondering what your experience was growing up in relation to how you were educated and how the messages that you received were internalised.
Yeah, great question. For me, I did receive a basic education from my mum when I was 12 and I got my period at 13. But there was absolutely nothing about the energy shifts within the month and how I could harness them to better get through life and manage my own energy and moods. It was much more, again, of that pushing through. And the most important part really is I'm perimenopausal now, which is the second adolescence. And no one gave me, I think, any of our generation and probably hundreds going back, any education about what perimenopause is. But this is what made me write the Body Wiser Puberty and Period Guidebook, because I realised that it isn't just getting a period and, welcome to womanhood. It's actually an entire life cycle where you are completely reconfiguring yourself at key points. So, at puberty, we are completely our brains, our bodies, the way we think about ourselves, our identity, the way we interact, the way we feel emotionally. Everything is completely reconfigured. And that same thing happens at perimenopause. So I really feel our period education was severely lacking because it's something that a period is something you get 450 times on average in your life. And we should be made to feel empowered by it, not to ignore it.
It's interesting because my experience was very similar to yours growing up. I wasn't fazed by getting a period. I didn't get mine until I was about 14, but I didn't understand the cycle that my body was going through and all of those things. And it just makes me wonder how much harder it was for our parents and even their parents going through this process, which happens to more than 50% of the population, and not fully understanding it, and understanding how to empower themselves through that process. And I thought it was interesting. You mentioned this idea of women having to push through, to keep busy. And I really resonate with that because I think so many times women feel that in order to, I guess, have a sense of worth, they have to be busy. They have to be producing something that suggests that they have meaning and worth in life in general. And I think that that's really important for us to kind of, I guess,
be gentler on ourselves, right?
Yeah, be gentler on ourselves and debunk that myth. Like our worth isn't about busyness, about production, about, our output. Our worth is just being. We're worthy beings just for being here. So we're talking about period education, and I know that for you, you think that early education is vital for our girls specifically. Why is this?
Well, I think that the key thing is it's actually about relationship building. So as a parent, if you make yourself a trusted resource for your kid to come and ask you real questions, honest questions, awkward questions, because we didn't have a lot of foundational information to draw on. We're all flying by the seat of our pants, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
In so many ways. I really feel that you get to control the narrative. You also get to create yourself as a trusted resource for when things get curly, when they're adolescents, and it will get curly, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually about empowering them to understand what's happening inside their bodies. Like, it's real. It's not something that we can sort of pretend and gloss over. Puberty and adolescence and some of those seismic changes, they're seismic changes. They are profound to the individual. And I think we have a responsibility to really give the education that our kids deserve so they can better just manage how they change and why they change. It's like, I guess, again, I want to fall back on my experience with perimenopause, because in the first few years, I just had no framework and I was just reactive and feeling like I was falling apart. And that's a horrible feeling. You feel like you're failing no matter what you're trying to do. And our kids feel like that, I think. Puberty is equally seismic and profound because it changes you on every single level. And instead of creating a support structure for that, we really are just pushing through and kind of glossing over moments that could be really profound in terms of our kids feeling like, oh, yes, I know what that is because mum or dad or, whoever it is told me. I get it. Thank goodness for that, that information. Now I know what to do with myself. I know that this will pass. These sorts of things sound really obvious when you say them, but you really don't feel that way when you're the person that's changing. It's like just white knuckling through.
Yeah. Today we're speaking with Kate Andrews. She's the visionary founder of Wild Creative. She also facilitates rites of passage retreats and camps aimed at preteens and teens so they receive more meaningful puberty and period education. We have 6 girls in our house and clearly there is a lot of hormones going on regularly. But one of the things that I have been really grateful at throughout my process is just learning to be a little bit more gentle with myself. And I've learnt that probably a lot later in my life than I would have liked to.
Same.
Yeah. And I would say it's that self-education as we've gone through perimenopause and just feeling that lack of control over what's going on and understanding it. But I think that you're right. It has gifted my girls an opportunity to watch me go through it and recognise the areas in which they can be gentler on themselves as well. So I love that.
Yeah.
You've written a book, you said, called Body Wise, a puberty and period guide. Tell me about that. What's the education process that you're taking people through? Is this written for teenagers, like girls going through puberty? Is this written for parents? How does this work?
Yeah, so a lot of the books out there, as a parent, I felt like I couldn't leave in the bookshelf because there'd be like a section that was, for example, around sex education or things like that my kids weren't ready for. So I really designed this book to be left around. It can be read from 7 years plus. It can be read with your parent or alone. There's journal pages in there to encourage self-reflection, because often kids have a lot more resilience and a lot more emotional intelligence and a lot more self-awareness than we give them credit for, or that they actually have an opportunity to share, because often we are telling them things. We're not asking questions. So that was a really important part of it. It's also designed to be like a personal resource, but the way it's designed, it's got a lot of nature elements throughout visually, but I work in nature. I'm a holistic educator, so I run like a nature school for social emotional learning. So I spend a lot of time outdoors and seeing the connection that we have, not just as women, but as human beings with the natural world. So there's a lot of threads of that throughout, because I feel like that's deeply relatable. You know, instead of telling someone that, you know, there's seasons within your cycle, your monthly cycle, by observing nature and its seasons and its, you know, life, death, rebirth cycle, you actually organically and, you know, you're organically honouring what's happening within you as people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love that.
We just don't give kids enough kind of credit that they can take in information, you know, that doesn't have to be cartoony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is really, I work with a lot of neurodiverse kids too. I mean, to me, it's all diversity, because I work in nature and we need diversity to thrive. But that's a whole other podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that in the book. And we've got everything from anatomy and the physical changes to the mental emotional ones, and how looking after your mental emotional health is equally important as looking after your physical health, and just looking at it from a really holistic standpoint.
So did you envisage that this is something that parents would work alongside their kids, or is this being written like in a way that a 7-year-old could pick it up and actually work through it on their own?
Absolutely. It's written in a way that's it's not walls of text. So I've written it really consciously, where the illustrations will say what I'm saying in the words, if, you know, because kids sometimes don't want to read. This is not a topic that kids go, grouse, yeah, let's read about puberty. Awesome, thanks, I want to know about my period. It's interactive with the journal pages and self-reflection stuff, as well as educational.
Yeah, I love that. I was thinking about this idea of rites of passage, and with Justin's work, we have talked a lot about different cultures, and there are definitely some cultures that do this process better than others. And I think as an Australian culture in general, we kind of lack when it comes to rites of passage.
We do.
So tell me about your rites of passage work. What is an ROP and why is it important?
Yeah, our culture really doesn't do it well, you're right. A rite of passage is really a ceremony or event that honours and marks a transition or a big change in someone's life. So this could be puberty, it could be like a pregnancy blessing, it could be mothering. There's not nearly enough rituals and ceremonies around mothering and all of the wild ride education that brings. Perimenopause, menopause, ageing. These are sort of seismic changing. I've used that word a lot, haven't I? Seismic. I think that that obviously embodies, the intensity of change. I guess the point I'm trying to make is,
It's big.
It's big. It's so big, and it's so important because a rite of passage is really important because it's actually about acknowledgement and belonging. So acknowledgement of the individual who's changing, and as they change and feel estranged in many ways, like, for example, if it's a child moving into adolescence and young adulthood, you feel odd and kids are breaking away. They are leaving their childhood. A rite of passage ceremony or event says, we see and acknowledge that you are growing up. We see and acknowledge you are becoming independent and your own person, and we love that. But you still need support, and here's your support crew. So the way it should work, ideally, is with the individual, the child or teenager, and then the family members should be involved, because as a child changes, we need to alter the way we parent, as you would know very well. You've done it 6 times over. You would be best placed out of many, so you really have to alter the way that you're parenting them because they're growing up. Sounds really obvious, but I think we miss that as parents sometimes. And then the next kind of, I see it like a series of concentric circles. The child is at the middle. The family is right outside that. And then their, grandparents, aunties, uncles, then their community. So naturally, as kids reach adolescence, they really want to break out of that family unit. But a lot of them don't know where to go because we haven't created a sense of belonging and anchored them into community. And that's why things like the manosphere are so huge, because you've got a lot of boys who, and I think for boys in particular, they really seek mentors naturally. I think it's really in their wiring and their DNA. And we are not providing that for them. And then when they get online, because that's where they seek it these days, there's a manosphere and a whole other host of things. And it's like, oh, but they feel welcome and they feel like a sense of belonging and they feel understood and acknowledged. And that's where the problems lie. So rite of passage is deeply important in acknowledging, but also helping the individual remain connected to the people that love them the most.
I love that. There's a quote, it takes a village to grow a child. And it's something that has resonated with me my whole life. I remember as a young girl, I had a very contentious relationship with my mum. And I was really grateful that in spite of the fact that we didn't necessarily have a great relationship, she provided a village. And it was those women that supported me and loved me. And most importantly, they actually taught me of my mum's humanity. When I was in my deepest struggles with her as a teenager and was being a little bit rebellious based on what she would like me to do, these were women who honoured her heart, honoured her goodness, and reminded me that one experience or one behaviour or one challenge didn't define who she was as a person. And so as a mum, that is something that I have really strived to bring into my girls' lives. I recognize that as one person, I can't be everything to them. I would love to be, but I can't. I can't give them all the things that they need. But I know beautiful women who have supported each of my children in different ways at different times and done it so beautifully. And I'm so grateful for that, because there is so much power in recognizing our own limitations, but accepting that there are other people out there who can give so much to them to help them grow into these beautiful, healthy people.
I think that's a great point. I also, I feel and see like the emotion that comes with that memory. And it is because, when we're leaving our childhood, it's a profound, you would have seen like the memes and stuff. It's the longest breakup. It's painful for both parties for different reasons. And when I think you felt held by that community that your mother put in place, that's really powerful, because that would have kept you anchored into something safe.
Yeah.
And often if again, this ties into the rite of passage stuff, if we don't provide that or put really important, solid people in front of our kids to go out to when they're seeking help and support, it's kind of like they're a balloon or a kite that's been let go of, and they feel really, it's frightening. The world is frightening. And I'm reminded of Dr. Lisa Jamore, who wrote a brilliant book of Untangled. And she uses the analogy of, the parents are the swimming pool and the world is the water. And any good swimmer, when they've been buffeted around or dumped a few times, comes back to the edge. And that is really important, that the edge just isn't only parents, it's their community, because sometimes they don't want to swim back to us. And it hurts. But like you say, it's so important we recognise we can't provide everything, and nor should we.
So as we wrap things up, Kate, if you could give parents 2 or 3 take-homes from what we've discussed today, what would you want them to hold on to and move forward with?
Great question. The number one thing that comes to me is have honest conversations. Our kids feel and see what's going on. They observe more than listen, and be honest about what's happening, no matter what it is, not just about puberty periods. Be honest about your perimenopause. Be honest about where you're at. I think that really counts for a lot, because honesty is relationship building and it is tied to your authenticity. And I would also say, don't shy away from difficult topics, because they're going to go looking in a lot of funkier places than you want them to. It's so important that we have the guts. We need the guts to have the difficult conversations. And I have great compassion for our generation, because the pendulum has really swung from like, this isn't happening, sweep it all under the rug, to neurodivergence and all emotions are valid. Like, the pendulum's really swung to opening up everything that used to be shut down. So we are really learning on the fly, I feel, our generation of parents, about what to do and how to do it openly and honestly. But I think when we show our kids that we can make mistakes but muddle through with them honestly, I think that they will value that beyond anything.
So if people wanted to grab a copy of your book, Kate, where would they go?
They can get a copy of the book on the website, which is wildcreativeaustralia.com.
Thanks for a great conversation, Kate. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon at Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides additional admin support. And if you'd like more information about anything we spoke about today, including a copy of Kate's latest book, check the show notes for more details.